Oh man. Good evening and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View this evening. Let me just jump onto this. I've got to admit, I was actually sitting looking at stuff on Amazon. Good evening and welcome back to the One. I'll be honest. I was looking at stuff at Amazon and I went down a rabbit hole. You ever done that? Not professional, no, but I went on Amazon. I was looking at something and I went completely down a rabbit hole on Amazon. And then I was like, shit, look at the time. It's 4 minutes past. Anyway, good evening. Welcome back to the channel. Colby Donovan. A Rojo left at home. Is that a worry? Is that a worry? I'm going to take that, mate, and I'm going to use that as the poll question tonight. He's the only one that is not fit. So there's the poll question tonight. Rojo left at home. Is it a worry? Yes or no? Martin O'Neill said he is the only player that was not fit to travel. Rojo surely just getting a rest, says Craig. Well, not according to Martin O'Neill, because Martin O'Neill says that he was the only one that wasn't fit. Let's dive into it. Martin O'Neill said that there's not going to be a weekend side tomorrow evening, early evening kickoff in Stuttgart. And I've got to say, fair play to the lads who travelled over to Switzerland and then got the train from Switzerland to Stuttgart. You know who yous are. Some fantastic pictures that I got sent of the railway trip from Switzerland to Stuttgart. Switzerland looks amazing, to be honest. Anyway, Martin O'Neill says that Julian Rojo is the only player that was left at home due to the fact that he was not fit. Everyone else has travelled. Martin O'Neill refuses to call any lineup a weekend lineup. It was interesting that young Colby Donovan was interviewed by Celtic beforehand, and it was a cracking interview by Donovan. We'll get back to Martin O'Neill in a minute, but Donovan spoke about the fact that he was buzzing to take on the Bundesliga side. He says, you play in these games, you can only get better. He says, you get thrown in these games and when you're inexperienced, he says, like, when you play in front of Celtic in Celtic Park, you're playing in front of 60,000 fans. There's nothing more, there's no more pressure than there is playing at Celtic Park. So he's going to enjoy the experience heading over to Germany. It says he's went from playing against young boys your own age, and then you take a step into the big league. You know, you take a step into European football. It's a completely different game. And Colby Donovan, I think that Colby Donovan will be the next Kieran Tierney. As in, I don't say that he'll be sold for 25 million, but what I mean by that is the next player that will have come through the academy and that will go on to be what we would call a superstar at Celtic, because Kieran Tierney was a superstar before he left to go to Arsenal, and I think that young Colby Donovan will be the next one. He does seem to have that mindset. He says it's a huge confidence boost when you're playing against boys your own age and then you go to play some of the best players in the world. So from where I was last year to where I am now, it's a huge step and I'm buzzing for it. I'm buzzing to see what the future holds with Celtic. Obviously training under Brendan Rodgers, and then training under, well, we don't mention about Wilfred Nancy, but then it then talks about the development that he's had under Martin O'Neill. And he says that, it's all part of the journey, which is great for his development as a player. You know, he's training with his heroes. He grew up watching Kieran Tierney play football. And, he idolised Kieran Tierney. And now he's on the same pitch as them. So he says that Celtic are coping with a heavy fixture. And it is just one more game. But Martin O'Neill, he says that everyone else has travelled. He refuses to call any lineup that he puts as a weekend lineup. He talks up the competition. He talks up the competition for positions on the pitch, having brought in Tam the Czech and others in the last window. Martin's gave us a bit of we're not going to throw this game away. As many of the fans are saying, look, it's a dead rubber game, put out a weakened team and just be done with it. Martin O'Neill doesn't see it like that. He sees it as I'm going to put out a team that can put up a fight. Supporters might think that, yep, it's a big game on Sunday, rest the players, focus on the league. It's not Martin O'Neill's side. The squad is strong. Whoever plays is first team quality, said Martin O'Neill. There was a clear statement by Martin O'Neill saying that, and saying that there's no fixed 11. That's what I took from Martin O'Neill's interview. That no one, everyone that's in the squad can play. There's no must-start players in this squad. It just shows you how bad the squad is, really. It says 4-1 for the first leg. He said it was never a 4-1 game. He's watched the game back twice. That tells me that Martin O'Neill is not going to throw this game. No way. Martin O'Neill was pissed off that we got beat 4-1 at Celtic Park. Pissed off that the players never turned up. Martin O'Neill will want to try and overcome this scoreline. Martin O'Neill tomorrow, it wouldn't surprise me if Martin O'Neill puts out the strongest possible team available. Julian Rojo is not there. I think it's a friggin' perfect game for Colby Donovan to come in. And the fact that Colby Donovan wants to play, with no fear. It's when players come in like that and with that attitude, it's that's when Celtic do things. We can think back to the Barcelona game. Tony Watt, unfancied Tony Watt, scores that fantastic goal. Chilwell says Martin has lost the plot, not resting players. If he loses on Sunday, he's going to get roasted for his decision. I don't think he's lost the plot. And it'll be interesting. Jerry says that Tam the Czech owes us a performance. I think that you'll see in the European game that he's not man-marked and the physicality isn't there in the European game. This game might actually start to see the best part of Tam the Czech. I think that you might actually see the real player that's in there. That's not having to put up with this real physical defenders that are trying to knock you off. It would be a completely different game. But you never go. We'll wait and see. Because tomorrow night, by this time of night tomorrow, it'll all be done and dusted. And we might be saying, thank God it's over. Or we might be saying, holy shit, Martin O'Neill's done it. And I tell you one thing, if Martin O'Neill was to go out, we need a 4-0 win tomorrow. It's never going to happen. Our defence isn't that good enough. Can we overturn a 4-1 scoreline? If it was 2-1, I would say yes. Martin O'Neill would be going there with let's go and try and do this. Is 4-1 irretrievable? I would say yes. But Martin O'Neill wants to go out with a fighting spirit. And that's what we all love about Martin O'Neill. Let's face facts. If it was Wilfred Nancy who was still in charge, we would be saying it's the fucking dead rubber game. It would be a completely different kettle of fish. If Martin O'Neill had been here and we hadn't lost as many points in the league, there's all these permutations that you've got to think about. If Wilfred Nancy had never been at Celtic and we weren't 6 points behind in the league, every single Celtic fan would be saying, going into this game, let's fucking have a go. Let's put out the best team and have a go. But it's not the way. Martin O'Neill generally believes that the game was closer than the scoreline. Celtic conceded poor goals. They missed big chances at 3-1. And it's the manager's psychologically He's trying to protect the squad. He's trying to reinforce the belief that the players are good players, and he believes that they're good players and they are better than what that scoreline is. He wants to focus on correctable mistakes. Some people might say playing the players that we do have available and Julian Rojo not being available. I think what Martin O'Neill was really saying is that we weren't outclassed. That Stuttgart team weren't a brilliant team. They had a good work ethic, and I think that they had a good game plan. If we had players of an ability that were together and that were all on form, there's no way that we're losing that game 4-1. Am I banned? Comment not showing. No, you're not banned, and the comment is showing. But anyway, I think that is the big difference. You know, tomorrow night will all be about pride and tactics. It'll all be going out, and for Martin O'Neill will not want to be humbled in his last game in Europe. Do you know, he doesn't want to head into retirement after this next couple of months, the next 3 or 4 months at Celtic, and he doesn't want to bow out of Europe being absolutely pummeled. So I think that there's going to be a certain amount of pride that Martin O'Neill will want to finish this campaign with, and Martin O'Neill will definitely not put out what will be deemed as a weakened team. Do you know, he needs to get his tactics right. The players need to get the tactics right. It's not in our interest, said Martin O'Neill, to just sit back and try and defend, because we can't do it. We can't sit back the way that we did in Italy. It's just not in this team's nature. But anyway, we need to be competitive tomorrow night. We need to be brave. We need to be damage. Is it a case of damage limitation? A lot of fans will think it's just damage limitation that Martin O'Neill's trying to go for. And you can understand. Do you know, you can understand that damage limitation from Martin O'Neill's perspective, so that, you know, he could sit back in his big comfy chair, put his pipe and slippers on and go into retirement after May and think, you know, at least I gave it a try. At least I gave it a try when it comes to Europe. Anyway, the fact is that we're at the knockout phase. This is where we wanted to, at the beginning of the season, when you go all the way back to the beginning of the season, all we wanted to do in this campaign was get to the knockout phase and get to knockout football. And now that we're at it and we're at that stage, a lot of fans are saying just throw it. And that isn't the Celtic way. That's not what you want. That's not what you wanted at the beginning of the season. You didn't want us to get to the knockout phase and just go, fuck it. Let's just not even try. Because I know deep down inside yourself, sitting on the other end of this screen, that is not what you wanted for Celtic. And it's not what Martin O'Neill wants. Anyway, the interesting thing is that Martin O'Neill knows that we can go out of a few competitions in the next week or so. And is he preparing the fans for that mentally? Do you know, he spoke about the Bodo Glimt shock winner over Inter. Do you know, money matters, but exceptions do exist. The Bodo Glimt story, I've said it before. Clubs like Bodo Glimt, clubs like Midtjylland, cracking little stadium. Clubs like Malmo. I said it when we went to Malmo a few years back under Ronnie. That was a cracking little stadium. Club that had its finances in order. Do you know, they had a great atmosphere, a great... If Celtic are looking at customer experiences, Baz, don't think all the comments are coming up. There's nothing I can do about that if the comments aren't coming up. That's the YouTube thing. Let me just jump into this. Um, I mean, somebody said that as his comments coming up, he must be swearing or something in the comments because I reposted one. Anyway, I am not focusing on the comments just now because I am focusing on the story. Let's not go down that road tonight again. Anyway, Martin O'Neill talking about Bodo Glimt, saying that yes, money matters in the Champions League, but there is hope and there is a bit of realism that some clubs can sometimes do it. Martin O'Neill doesn't pretend that Scottish clubs are suddenly going to be able to compete, no matter who wins the leagues this year, no matter who comes second, no matter who comes third. Celtic aren't going to go into Europe next year and be able to compete at any decent level unless they've got a squad. And I've said this before, Scottish football holds clubs back. The way that we play football in Scotland holds us back in European context. That's why every other club that goes into Europe never does that great, because they can't get used to playing a European style of football. Celtic have tried to change the way that they play in Europe they've tried to play the same way at home in Scotland as they play in Europe. And then what happens? People in Scotland go to a back six. What's the point? Do you know what is the point? Scottish football just nullifying. And then when these teams then go into Europe, they try and play with the same back five, back six, but they end up getting beat anyway because there's better players. Anyway, the explosion from VAR. God. Martin O'Neill really let it go at this point, didn't he? He says that the referee saw the incident, said it's nothing, then was told to review it, and then overturned what he saw. If VAR overrides the referee, what is the referee for? Martin O'Neill says, in time we won't need referees. They'll just stop the game. There'll just be a whistle that goes off. A klaxon. There'll be a big klaxon goes off. And it'll be like, you have to stop the game. And if you don't stop the game, the stewards will come on and fucking take over. And the police. It's all gone nuts, isn't it? But anyway, Martin O'Neill reckons that the VAR system undermines officials and the appeal system is pointless. And he reckons that a Celtic player is missing 3 games unfairly. It's interesting. But other than that, Martin O'Neill says that the lads are in really good form. He says the disappointment of the last game has been they've been completely focused on this game. There could be a massive disappointment in the game tomorrow night when they realise that the players have realised that, it's just a bridge too far again and that they are out of Europe. Kieran, 100% on his shirt. 9 times so far not shown. Kieran, what are you trying to type? Because you're obviously trying to type something that's banned. Because there's your comment there is shown. So whatever you're trying to type, it's obviously something that has been flagged by YouTube. Anyway, I'm not getting carried away with the comments this evening. Apologies if you think that I'm going to be reading every comment, because I'm not tonight, because I'm not hanging around long enough. There is some football on that I want to watch. Anyway, one final note. Martin O'Neill was not given up on the tie. Is he protecting his players? Absolutely. I think that Martin O'Neill, he's not going to do a Brendan Rodgers and throw them under the bus and say they're not good enough. He says that everyone in the squad is first team capable, first team ready. It's going to be an interesting one to see who he does pick tomorrow night. Is he angry about VAR? Definitely. He's totally pissed at VAR. And I think that is one of the... We never had VAR when Martin was a manager. About Europe, has Martin been realistic about Europe at this late stage, thinking that we can overcome a 4-1 deficit? I would say that yes, he's realistic, but he's still got that ambition in him. Don't know, he still thought if it wasn't 4-1, if we didn't completely collapse the way that we did at home, I think there's a lot of disbelief within I mean, look at it this way from Martin and the backroom staff. I think there's a bit of disbelief that the way that the players played against Stuttgart and allowed Stuttgart to dominate and for Celtic to be so nervous at the back. And that comes down to the back four, comes down to Kasper Schmeichel. I mean, Kasper Schmeichel, fucking Jesus, need to talk about him. But will there be any changes? I think that there will be changes. Will it be because Martin's got one eye on the game on Sunday? Or is it just a case of it's the last game in Europe? It's going to be very difficult to turn this around. Let's give the players the experience. And a good manager gives the players the experience. And that's what Martin O'Neill is, a good manager. He's not panicking. He's defending the squad. He's backing the depth of the squad. A lot of people saying that, look, this is what we get for not investing. He's brought in 5 players, 6 players, and even though Oxlade-Chamberlain cannot play, but he still reckons that this squad should be good enough at this level. But the big takeaway from the interview was the fact that Julian Rojo never travelled because he is not fit. He says that Julian is the only one that stayed home. The rest, everybody else has come, which means that any potential, I'm not going to play you because I'm going to rest you, it's not going to happen. There is good competition for places now at Celtic. We finally sometimes we have a bench that we're like, well, we never had that at the beginning of the season. So that'll be interesting to see. Benfica Madrid game's good. Yeah, I've missed the first half an hour of that. But anyway, both teams are going for it. Yeah, they will be. Anyway, right, let me jump back into the poll because I am only staying on shortly because the views are way down because there's Champions League games on, as expected, as always. The poll, Rojo left at home, is that a worry? Currently, I want to get to the 200 votes, so I need 6 votes to get to 200 votes on this one whilst we are live. This is the day that we went away. I tell you, fair play to the lads that went all the way over to Switzerland to then go to Germany. It's amazing what see people that sit at home and people that don't go to away games and everything. They've no idea. Everybody thinks that you jump on a plane in Glasgow and you fly into Stuttgart. No, you don't, because that's sometimes the most expensive way of doing it, and the flights might not be there. The flights might already been booked, especially when it comes to the Champions League kind of stuff. And I've got a lot of respect for the guys that do the travelling, and they find fantastic ways to make these journeys at late notice. You've only got about a week's notice before you've got days, absolute days notice before the flights go through the roof, and we need one vote. 61% say yes, Rojo left at home is a worry. 39% say no, it's not. I think the biggest worry about Rojo is if he's injured for this game, will he be fit for the weekend? That should have been the vote. Anyway, let's end that poll on the 200 votes. Desmond Donnelly says, Baz. What is it, Desmond Donnelly? You've just put Baz and that's it. Tony, can you see this? Yes, I can. You don't know what type of team they will play tomorrow. They could play a weakened side. I don't think that they're going to play a weakened side. They give players a rest before they played Celtic beforehand. Damage limitations the only option. Say anybody thinks who else is deluded. But you better tell that to Martin O'Neill. Um, Braga or Porto, the next miracle of miracles, if miracles happen, apparently. Braga or Porto. I wanted to get Porto. Um, but anyway, we'll wait and see. Right, that is me done and dusted for this evening. Just a quick one. I want to go and watch some football. And I'll see you all in the morning because it's going to be one hell of a busy day tomorrow. On that note, have an absolutely fantastic evening, Celtic fans, wherever you are, all around the world.